Welcome to Vibrational Revelations. I'm Elena.
I am Alejandro.
And thank you so much for being a part of Vibrational Revelations YouTube community. For those of you that are brand new, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel. If this video is going to be interesting for you, definitely leave a comment. We always look forward to your feedback. For those of you that are not familiar with our work, Alejandro and I are frequency profilers. We are using scalar wave technology to reveal the vibrational frequencies and levels of consciousness of people, places, historical events, you name it, we've been doing it. Probably over thousands of people we have revealed in the Vibrational Revelations community, also working privately with people from all around the world. Now, please also make sure that you download the Vibrational Frequencies of Awakening scale. The scale has been updated back in April. Again, thank you. Today's topic, I should say, is probably one of the most difficult topics. It absolutely doesn't bring us joy. It's actually one of the darkest topics that we've had to dive into in the last couple of years. And this has to do with the latest case of Bryan Kohberger. He is a PhD student in Idaho who has been charged with murdering 4 university students. So we're going to do a frequency profiling on him, and also a very famous serial killer that was, I guess, Ted Bundy, right, in the 1970s, between 1974 and 1978. So let's dive deep into Bryan Kohberger. It's always interesting. Why are we bringing up Ted Bundy? Because we also wanted to see, is somebody born a serial killer or a murderer, or is it something that perhaps happens due to trauma in the childhood? So this will be up to you to make that decision. But there's definitely a difference between the two.
Oh, yes, very evident.
Would you like to start maybe first with Ted Bundy?
Okay, sure.
Well, let's do Ted Bundy first.
Ted Bundy, overall frequency 20. That is humiliation or destruction. He incarnated at the frequency of 20 and was born at the frequency of 20.
So this is like on a scale, for those of you that are brand new, it's on a scale of 0 to 1,000.
Exactly. He viewed health through a lens of 20, destruction, humiliation. And within health, we also measure mind, connection to mind, body, and soul. For him, mind 20, body 50, and soul 20. Finances 20. Creativity 400.
So very
analytics, so it's all really creating with the mind.
And you'll see this is such a great example too, because oftentimes Alejandro and I would get surprises, right? You have somebody who incarnates at these very low frequencies, but then they have this very high frequency. And this is very, if you imagine the yin and the yang, right? The symbol of yin and the yang, you see the black, right? And there's a little white circle. And this is kind of like the same thing, that the shadow contains the light and the light contains the shadow within it.
Yes. And we all really carry it, right? We just express it differently. Different.
Yeah, this is
experiencing different frequencies.
This is the extremist case.
Right. In his case, very consistent, was born at 20, incarnated at 20, and his overall frequency 20. So this is what we categorize as a great awakener. We used to say a shadow player, but now we call them great awakeners. So just come to this reality to have this type of experience, and it is very consistent throughout. Now, when it comes to relationships, 20. Relationships to self, 50. So emotionally disconnected, numbed. If relationship to others, 10. That is the destruction, pretty much, right? Personal growth, 20. Philanthropy, 20. Within philanthropy, we measure service to self at 50 and service to others 10. Well, I think this is the lowest we have ever measured when it comes to service to others.
Introduced that too, right?
Right.
This concept of service to self and others. So this is a new category actually that we recently introduced. So yes, based on
So far is the lowest.
so far is the lowest.
Under intuition, 400. Also analytics, reasoning. Very mind-driven. With an intuition, he has clairaudience at 400, clairsentience 50, clairvoyance 400, and claircognizance 400. In the intelligence aspect, he has IQ 400.
And the average of humanity's IQ for the human collective, by the way, is 175. So you can see actually he has a brilliant mind, right? Or he had a brilliant mind. Actually quite a dangerous combination of powerful mind, right? With creativity and high intuition.
Even though this is not the way, the conventional way of measuring the intelligence aspect, right? Or the IQ. This is more as of how, or everything in the chart is as of how, what filter gets activated.
Frequency filter.
Frequency filter gets activated when it comes to a particular aspect. And it stems from the inner dialogue, right? And when it comes to intelligence aspect, it's really not necessarily how smart or intelligent a person is. But often we have found that the scientists and geniuses have a very high IQ when it comes to frequencies. And his case 400.
Yes.
EQ, emotional quotient, is 20. Imagine, this is one of the most powerful one out of the 4. Emotional quotient, that is the intelligence, right? SQ, social quotient, that is 250. So he definitely had, was comfortable in social settings, was comfortable interacting with people, right?
You can say he had somewhat, because SQ also is linked to the level of magnetism. So he was able to lure his victims in, right?
Exactly.
And using his intellect and then also this SQ.
It was not as high as a rock star, but it is really high enough to where matches what Elena just described. Under the adversity quotient, which is AQ, 10. So when it came to adversity, facing challenges, the filter of destruction was being activated. Now we go into indie joy. How much was Ted Bundy enjoying the role that he was playing in this reality as Ted Bundy? It was 100%.
Imagine that.
He was enjoying everything he did. He was
really a true sociopath, actually.
Full blown, based on the numbers and based on what we read, matches the frequencies we're revealing right now. In the ego, 100%. And within the ego, he is 100% in the superior version of the ego, which is a very distinct characteristic that we have found within narcissists and psychopaths as well, most of the time, right? They're 100% in the ego and 100% in the superior version of the ego. In the now, how much time was he in the present moment? How present he was, right? 100%. So he was fully present.
For his experience.
Exactly. Integrity. How loyal and faithful he was to his truth. Or what he believed as true. 100%. Integrity to self, 100%. And integrity to others, 4%. Wow. I think it's also one of the lowest integrity to others we have read so far.
Well, we also didn't do it like when we did Hitler and all these other characters, Stalin, we did the whole thing on dictators. We didn't even dive into those aspects because we've expanded it since then.
Mhm.
So,
Self-awareness, 99%. Clarity, 100%. Alignment with divine purpose. This is how well he was playing the divine role he decided to play in this lifetime. 100%. So he was fully aligned
with what he came here to
what
be.
he came here to
The character of
experience.
evil, you can say. The character of absolute destruction.
And this is often the case for those that incarnate at 20. They were born at 20 and their overall frequency is 20. That most of them are 100% in the joy, 100% in the now, and 100% aligned with their divine purpose, believe it or not. There's something that we discovered probably, after doing few hundred
initially,
readings.
yes. So this was a big aha moment for us, right?
Wow.
That shadow is just as much part of the creation. It's so hard to grasp this concept that evil exists, right?
Right.
Creating this insane contrast.
Right. And it is not something that I was programmed with, to believe that.
No,
I always
I
thought
think
that
most of us are not.
when I first thought of alignment with divine purpose, I thought divine, like nothing but goodness.
The
right?
creation, right?
Yes. So, but that's that we can.
It's a hard
Soon
pill to swallow.
Yeah, it was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But we've done literally thousands of readings now, and this is very clear to us, right? This alignment with personal purpose. This is more in relation to the ego self, as of how much or what is it exactly that he wanted to accomplish, more as of his sense of fulfillment, right? And for him was 100%.
So his ego self loved every moment of it.
Compassion. Overall compassion, 3%. Compassion to self, 93%.
And this is, by the way, a new concept we're also introducing because we wanted to look at the compassion to self and others. There's drastic differences, you'll see.
Compassion to others, 1%.
It's crazy.
1%. Wow. Oh, he definitely holds a record so far. Empathy, 43%. Energy purity. And again, this is not how pure the person's energy is, so we relate pure with pureness.
Or goodness, you could say.
Goodness, exactly. But energy purity is an indicator that tells you how much of the overall frequency of the level of consciousness that is being currently experienced is embodied, right? Is being embodied. So in his case, he embodied his level of consciousness of 20 to the fullest at 100%.
Yeah, and then when we actually read his frequencies, I said to Alejandro, this very much energetically reminds me of the Joker from the movie The Batman, right? Just this character. So if you can imagine, this has this kind of evil with absolute joy, right? And also the desire to hold on to the light, right? Because he says to the Batman, I cannot exist without you. So there's a lot of deep messages actually in that film. It's a very dark film. I normally don't like any dark films.
And they have also common experiences, right? Between
from their childhood.
Joker and Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy, yes, definitely.
Their mothers abandoned them.
Well, Ted Bundy's mother was pretending to be his sister, right? So for years he thought that she was his sister, and his grandparents raised him in a very abusive household. But this is going to be a very interesting contrast when I introduce Brian Kohberger, the guy that's being accused of the murder in Idaho, murdering 4 young people in college. And you'll see the difference because Ted Bundy actually incarnated at this 20 frequency, right? Whereas in Brian's case, he incarnated at the frequency of 250. So he didn't come here to play shadow role. Very interesting. He was born at the frequency of 50. So again, this is a very common theme that we see in most of the human collective, that souls incarnate at one frequency and then drop at birth, most of the time taking in the environment of when the mom is pregnant and the different situation that or emotions that she's experiencing, and a lot of times also ancestral patterns, ancestral trauma that is passed on in utero.
You know, in the ancestral trauma is passed on is information as we know it. So it's information that gets activated, right? Due to whatever it was that the mother was experiencing during the time of pregnancy. So it's not necessarily that it has to be experienced or re-experienced, but in this case, it was really the way they lay the foundation for the contrast to be experienced by this person, in this case,
Brian Kohberger.
Brian, exactly.
So he was born at 50. And his overall vibrational frequency as of today is 20, which is the signature that you see in Ted Bundy, right? But they're different, completely different souls. So this is interesting. And, you know, the number one for me red flag was this person must have experienced some kind of trauma as a child, right? Because trauma, we all experience trauma in different ways. But for somebody to drop into destruction, so this makes you question, you know, what was the environment for him as a child? What was it like?
How old is Brian?
28 years old. He's
28.
Yeah, 28 years old.
Well, based on all the readings we've done, we've seen people dropping to 50 at birth,
And
but
30,
eventually, yes,
climb
above 20 years of age, they start to experience higher frequencies. Most of the time, they tend to come back at one point for 1 year or two. After they were experiencing higher frequencies, another traumatic situation happens. So again, the information gets activated because it needs to be transcended, right? Or the lesson has to be learned in a way. And then they go back to the 50, but stay there for very little. And then they usually start experiencing.
So this is like a
plummeting,
right?
But this is a plummeting, right? So it was not only that the information was activated at birth in order to experience the drop, but throughout, exactly after birth, something other situations, traumatic situations were definitely taking place. Yes.
Now health, he views health through the lens of 50, and for Ted Bundy it was 20. Mind, his connection to mind in relationship to health is the frequency of 20. So his very kind of distorted relationship with his mind. Ted Bundy also had that frequency. And what we've noticed, again, we're not diagnosing anything, but what we've noticed when there is a 20 frequency in the mind, that means there's definitely some kind of mental imbalance in as far as health aspect related to the mind. Body, he views through the lens of 50, total disconnect, disassociation. And soul, his connection to soul is at a frequency also of 50, disconnect. This is again from 0 to 1000. Finances, he views through the lens of 50, disconnected, disassociated. Creativity, his creativity, very different than Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy had 400 frequency in creativity, very creative mind. Here, the creativity filter that is activated by Brian is a frequency of fear, 100. Relationships. He views relationships through the filter of 20. Again, very destructive pattern. Relationship to himself is 20. So he also views himself in a destructive way. And relationship to others is 10. Now for Ted Bundy, but Ted Bundy relationship to self was 50. But overall, yes, the way they view the relationship overall, and then to others 10, destroy, right? To destruct. Personal growth, in Brian's case, is 30. Ted Bundy was 20. Philanthropy. Philanthropy's frequency overall, again, is 20. Service to self, 20. Service to others, 20. Little difference with Ted Bundy. Service to self was 50 and service to others, 10. Intuition for Bryan. I find it also very fascinating that both of them actually have intuition in the higher numbers, especially Ted Bundy, 400, right? He used that intuition for years. So for Bryan, his overall intuition lens when information comes to him is 200. Heroic, kind of courageous, open, you can say. Clairaudience is 100. Clairsentience, 100. Clairvoyance, 200. And claircognizance, 200. And maybe that's why he was caught. He wasn't. Oh, no. Yeah, claircognizance, 200. Now we're going to go into intelligence aspects. So IQ. So here's where he and Ted Bundy have the same frequency for the IQ, 400. So again, I would say brilliant mind, very unusual frequency. Again, as I said, the most common frequency is 175 for the human collective. And oftentimes we see people who are in the sciences, like genius minds have the frequency of 400 in the IQ. EQ, emotional quotient, which is supposed to be far superior. You can see this is not the case for him. Overall frequency EQ is 20, same as Ted Bundy. SQ, here's the difference. Social quotient. If Ted Bundy had 250, he had some kind of magnetic pull. This guy's frequency is 20. So when he walked in, you could say that this filter of humiliation was activated and people were feeling it. So he must have been feeling awkward to people in public.
Yeah, it seems like he was definitely, or he is still life, a very insecure person.
Yes. Yes, that would come through. AQ, adversity quotient. Adversity quotient. So during challenging times, the filter that got activated for him is destruction, 10. Actually, the same filter as Ted Bundy. Okay, how much does this guy enjoy his roles? Remember, Ted Bundy enjoyed it 100%. He enjoys it 28%. And here's the difference, because he didn't come here. Bryan Kohberger did not incarnate here to be a shadow player, but he plummeted into this realm. So he's not having fun. Ego, he's in his ego 100%. And here's the other difference. He is 100% in his inferior. So he always feels like he's not good enough. And versus Ted Bundy, he's in his superior ego, pure narcissist, thinks he's it, right? In the now, Ted Bundy was in the now 100%. Bryan Kohberger, 14%, 1-4. Integrity, 30%. Here's also something interesting. Integrity to self, 36%. Ted Bundy, integrity to himself was 100%.
And that is very, very common for people pleasers. You know, those that go to the extreme. To yes, and they sacrifice on
everything.
Truth, you know.
Absolutely everything. And also it's like it's showing deep, deep, deep childhood trauma. There's absolute trauma, some kind of mental. I'm definitely interested to see what comes out on the news as far as like mental disorders. Integrity to others, 6%. Ted Bundy integrity to others was 4%. Self-awareness, how aware he is of himself, his inner and outer world, 65%. Clarity, how clear he is, 34%. So not much clarity. Ted Bundy had 100% clarity. Alignment with divine purpose. Remember, Ted Bundy was pure shadow incarnation, 100% alignment with divine purpose. For Bryan, it is 35%. So he's completely out of alignment with his divine purpose.
This is another thing that we have identified, you know, as a pattern, is that when the person incarnates at 250, drops at 50, but then remains at 50 or below, like in this case, plummeted. His overall frequency is 20, right? That directly impacts the level of joy, how much the person is enjoying the role in this reality, and also that impacts the alignment with divine purpose. So in his case, he is at 35%. 5% when it comes to his alignment with divine purpose,
Yes.
because of all these numbers, right? He incarnated at 250, now he's vibrating way
The
below
20, yeah,
his incarnation
frequency.
starting point, you can
Yes.
say.
Alignment with personal purpose, 42%. So his ego, persona self, also is not enjoying this reality much.
Mhm.
Compassion, how compassionate he is. Ted Bundy was 3% compassion. This guy's 34% compassion. Now, compassion towards himself is 90. Ted Bundy was 93. Compassion to others, 6%.
So Bundy was 1%.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Empathy, 44%. Ted Bundy was 43.
Almost the same.
Here's the energy purity, 14%. So how much does he embody this frequency of 20? He embodies it at 14%. In his case, because he didn't come here as a shadow frequency, I will say that most likely he has massive interferences due to his absolute disconnection with who he is on a higher level.
Mhm.
And that will be interesting to see what comes out as far as the revelations in the news about his mental state of being and his childhood. So let's all stay tuned, look out for that information. This is a great, actually, case study, looking through the lens of vibrational frequencies, profiling through the lens of vibrational frequencies. I hope it brought more questions for you, because it's always great to question. It is through questions that most doors will also open for you to explore the nature of our reality. So thank you so much.
And explore yourself,
Yes.
so you can master yourself.
Yes.
And of course, the main purpose is to enjoy this journey to the fullest.
Mm.
Thank you for joining us.
Until next time.
Thank you.